Welcome to Season 3 of the Knack 4 Business Podcast. Over 300 episodes strong, we're here to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit with fresh insights, networking gems, and creative strategies that elevate your game. Are you ready to discover what your Knack 4 business truly is? Your hosts are Bernie Franz-Grota from Creative Insight and Wayne Pratt from Motive 8U Inc.
Today's topic is Callings.ai, turning pain into opportunity. From the audience perspective, how can you make your job search less painful and actually land the right opportunities without getting lost in the process? That's what Garrett Rice is going to help us discover today. Our guest today is Garrett, the CEO and co-founder of Callings.ai, a groundbreaking platform built to transform the job hunting experience. Alongside co-founders Philippe Caillou and Horst Goven, all veterans of Silicon Valley with experience at companies like Apple, Adobe, Garrett set out to create the tools they wish had existed during their own job searches. With a passion for building products that simplify and humanize the job hunt, Garrett and his team spent over a year developing Callings.ai to help job seekers connect with opportunities more easily and employers find the right talent faster. Garrett, welcome, sir. And do you have a favorite quote or saying, sir?
My dad always used to say, if you do what you love, you never work another day in your life. He may have got that from somewhere else, but I always loved that. And then, of course, the other expression you hear a lot is be yourself. I think both of those are important.
Those are great lines and good sentiments to have. So what inspired you to build out Callings.ai? Because I know you're leveraging LinkedIn and you're looking from past experience job searches. What bundled this all together and you go, Eureka?
So one of our co-founders, Horst Goven, is a career coach. And both Philippe Caillou and I met while we were part of Horst's job hunting group. We've been product managers, product architects, product designers our entire career. And we got to know each other, hit it off really well. And we constantly were expressing our dismay at how poor the tools are for actually looking for a job. There's tons of tools for finding job posts, and there's tons of tools to help recruiters and hiring companies, but the actual workflow process of finding a job, there are not many tools for. Most job seekers, they build their own spreadsheets to manage it. They have folders on their desktop of different customized resumes and cover letters for every job they apply to. They use note-taking software to track what they're doing. And then they, on average, statistically, a job seeker will use 16 different tools and services for their job hunt. That's not sustainable. That's not manageable. As we saw all of that and dealt with that pain ourselves, we decided we should work on this. Philippe had started building tools for himself. When he showed them to me, I was like, that's a product. We should productize. At that point, we decided instead of going out and finding a job with somebody else, we founded our own company to try and solve this problem.
Normally, one of the tools you hear in job finding is networking. This sounds like it's a replacement, but I'm not sure it is. Can you unpack how networking fits in the loop?
Sure. Yeah, networking is one of the critically important steps in a job hunt process. One of the more successful ways to find a job, if you can connect with the right people. And people's social graph is on LinkedIn. We have tried to make the experience of identifying the right people to network with faster on our platform. We want to be LinkedIn's best friend. We don't think people are going to stop using LinkedIn. They can use our platform to manage their job hunt and get a better access point for LinkedIn. And so we use AI to take a look at the job that they're pursuing and identify the people that are either the hiring manager or right next to the hiring manager in that organization. Those are the people that you really need to talk to. And if you can outreach to somebody in the group that you're applying to, or definitely the hiring manager, your odds go up immeasurably. Plus, you have the chance as a job seeker to talk with people in that role to find out if it's a match for you. Because remember, in a job hunt, it's not just what the hiring company wants. You have to be passionate about taking that job, and you want to find jobs that match you. And so that's how our networking tool works. It's focused on helping identify the right people for that particular role.
So when you're working off of this, is it based on, hey, this is my profile, what works? Or do I write up a generic resume or CV and then plug it in and then go, okay, I'm looking for this? Or do I even have a top list to kind of work from? Because I might want to be the lumberjack and I'm okay, And I get out there and going, I don't like bugs. I don't like the weather. But I might find out that was the right choice.
Yeah, that's always an interesting challenge, right? The outside perception of something is not the same as the experience of doing it. Our tool hopefully helps people come at it in a number of different ways. A lot of times people need to find their needs and wants or their goals. And surprisingly, it's hard to figure that out from the inside sometimes. We think that we can just sit there and say, what I really want is this and be right. But in experience, people, especially if they're looking for a job, may be at a crossroads in terms of what they want to do. There's some personal exploration or deep work that has to happen for them to find the right role. When you start with us, we try and remove the process that many job boards require, in which you copy every part of your resume into web forms. With us, you drop your resume and we build a profile for you based on your resume to start with. Then we use AI to find opportunities for you. We bring you opportunities to see what you reflect as being interesting, because that's one good way to look for a job if you're not certain where to go. Simply let yourself react to opportunities and pick the ones that you like. It's not perfect, but that's a good way to start. The second thing we do, and this software is in beta, is we provide a insights tool that allows, we read your resume and then we ask you a series of questions in the Socratic method that helps you narrow down to what you truly want. And then we provide an ideal job report, which reflects back, based on the answers, the types of jobs that would match up with the responses you gave. And we provide a personal branding statement to help them understand what a positive pitch would be for them in their candidacy. These are things that we feel will help people to get on the path that they want to go on. We plan to work a lot more on this in the future. We think this is a really valuable thing for job seekers. There's no one path to looking for a job. There's a lot of different workflow steps that you need to do. And that's more true now than it's ever been. One of the things, in addition to helping people get to those deep answers, is we simply manage the workflow for them. We provide for lack of a better phrasing, a CRM for the job hunt with tools of all of the steps, right? Because a job hunt, a modern job hunt, you can't just call the local enterprise anymore and say, hey, you guys are down the block, I'm nearby, I'd love to work for you. That the modern job hunt is entirely global. Every job is being applied to by people all over the world. And so you need to apply a lot. You need to have a workflow process to pursue opportunities in volume. We manage that. At the core is a tracker. So your entire job hunt is in one place and you don't need to build your own custom spreadsheet. And within that, we try and provide tools to make each of the required steps go very fast. Step one is understanding who you are and finding opportunities that match you. We have tools for that. Step two is doing research on those opportunities to see if they're what you really want, because you might find the company advertising the role has a terrible work culture or doesn't pay enough. We provide research tools. We provide a match report too. If you find a job, we can compare it against your resume to tell you your odds of getting that opportunity. Because if you want to be the president of the United States, and you have no experience in politics or anything else, then it's going to be a challenge for you to get there. Having a job fit report is something that we provide to give you a sense of what your odds are. This also has a secondary benefit, which is modern ATS systems or applicant tracking systems, part of an HR system, does much of the review of resumes these days. In fact, at least 75% of all resumes that are submitted are only reviewed digitally by keyword-based or AI-based tools and are not seen by a real human being. So if you don't match, and that's what our job fit report provides, then you're going to be rejected automatically by their tools, and you'll never, ever be seen by a human being. That's the review process. And then there's the application process. For any role that you apply to, you must customize a resume and potentially a cover letter that shows you're interested in that specific job and expresses the experiences, skills, and talents that make you the perfect candidate. That means your resume needs to be different for every role you apply to. We offer a powerful AI-based resume tool that rewrites your resume and explains why we've made those changes to your resume. And then we give you the option of keeping or picking the new changes. And then it's a full editor too, so you can go back in and make changes yourself, because you should never submit an AI changed resume without reviewing it. AI is powerful, but it can sometimes say things about you that you may not want or that may not be true. We work hard to make certain that doesn't happen on our system, but at the very minimum, you may want wording to be different than the AI picks. And once you've got that, you've got a custom resume for that particular role. In our system, it's always there. If you decide that you like that and want to use it on something else, you've got it. So that's the application process. And then you need to submit to that job. And then, as Wayne talked about, networking comes in. Generally, you want to network after you apply to a job. You want to network actually to find job opportunities as well, especially reaching out to your network of people and say, hey, I'm available, I'm looking, this is what I'm interested in. But for roles that you find, you need to network after you apply. In many cases, people won't talk to you if you haven't submitted into the system. This was true when I was at Apple, for example. If you weren't in the system, I couldn't take your resume to a hiring manager because you weren't officially in. And the recruiters and HR system didn't like that. So after you've applied, you need to identify targets that can help get your resume to the top of the pile. That's what our networking tool does. It presents 5 to 7 people connected specifically to that job you're pursuing. It gives you a pre-written outreach message that you can edit, because the blank page is a terrible thing. I myself, when I was in the job hunt, sat around all day staring at a blank Microsoft Word document saying, oh my gosh, what am I going to say for my outreach? How do I contact this person? If you have a template or a draft, it makes it so much easier. I want to say this. We solve all of those problems for the user. We let you outreach through LinkedIn to those people, and then you're off to the races. Hopefully they'll respond. You can talk to them, get information about the job, about the company, project yourself to them, explain why you're a good candidate, hopefully build a rapport with them or a personal connection, which is always great because then they start to cheer for you, put your resume to the top of the pile. You want to be in that 2% of all job applicants that actually get an interview. That's an astounding statistic if you think about it. Only 2 out of every 100 people that apply for a job even get considered via an interview, which is painful for the job seeker. And on average, on any given job post, there's at least 250 applicants. You're always in a lottery, and your goal is to try and figure out what the numbers are so that you're not just gambling. And then there are still more steps, unfortunately, after you network, right? Which is you hopefully are part of that 2% that gets a job interview. And then you need to prep for that, right? We provide a job prep, interview prep report as well that's very detailed, that proposes likely questions you'll get both about the job and the role, but also about your own psychology or personality. We provide questions that you can ask, places you can get more research as you prepare. And that's part of it as well. And then notes to track the whole thing, to get reminders so that you can continually follow up, because persistence is an important part of a job hunt. Our goal is that when somebody comes into our platform, it takes an incredibly painful, confusing experience. It at least provides a structure for them to do it and the tools to make them more successful on each of the steps. And that's what Callings is all about. In the long run, we will increasingly live up to our moniker and help people truly identify and find the roles that are their true calling in life.
You've given me an interesting set of bookends. On one hand, you help people design a strong, keyword-driven resume-type product. And on the other hand, one of your highest goals is authenticity. Can you unpack that for me?
I think the resume is often used an acronym from the 1700s, when people used to go to the printer and print out a piece of paper with their information on it and then take it to somebody in their parlor and say, sir, I'd love to work in your business. And here we are 300 years later, and we're still using it. It's just an outline of the things that you've done and the skills that you have. And we know that's important, but not sufficient for the future of job hunting. We think that people are going to need to express themselves more. And we have some ideas, which I'm not fully prepared to express here yet, though I'd love to come back when it's ready and talk to you guys about it, to help people really express who they are and have a way of telling that story, because I think you're right, Wayne. A resume doesn't say who you are. It's just a list of facts about you. And they're important. If you haven't worked in a role and you're applying for a role, then you're probably not qualified. And so that part of the resume, I think, is valuable. But increasingly, and I've heard this a lot from recruiters and hiring managers, once you narrow down the field to people who are qualified, it really gets down to items that are not on resumes. It's who you are, how you interact, how you work on a team. Do you have a certain set of ineffable traits that make you a more successful person in that role than somebody else? And I think any of us who've worked recognize that when somebody new comes in, the fact that they've done this in the past or whatever is entirely irrelevant, almost, or required and not sufficient. The real things are, how do they get along, and do they actually get the work done, and do they make a difference? That's very hard to measure. To measure that, you have to know things about the people that go beyond what's on a resume. We identify that very clearly and have some very interesting ideas on how to bring that about for our customers.
How do you deal with false humility and imposter syndrome in your product? In your good answer, I meant in your product.
I just keep faking the humility until people buy it. If I've learned anything, it's that I better be humble, because you never know what you're really doing in this life. That's an interesting challenge, right? I think people do it because they know they need to be successful on a job hunt. And they are told over and over again, you need to be confident. But confidence is not a false projection of strength. Confidence is understanding the situation, having experience reacting to it, and having the skills and understanding to do the right thing. So I don't know how programmatically on a platform we can help solve that problem. I think if people were to ask me, I would say, don't assume that acting to be an expert, if you're not, is the right answer in a job interview. I think there's tremendous power in being confident and saying, you know what, I don't know the answer to that particular question, but I can find it out or learn it. I think that would be how I would respond to it. Not try and fake it, but be open and honest about it, and let some other part of my skill set fill in there.
Sounds like the right answer to me.
Thank you, Wayne.
You spoke of when you're helping the candidate get to the interview stage and in doing question prep, which means you have to know the company they're going to engage, whether you're engaging on behalf of them to find out more about them. At the same time, going, listen, this company has a reputation, and just it doesn't even have to be a reputation of adverse, but they have a certain style of operating, right? Some are cutting edge, and it's always, you have thrill seekers, they're drilling junkies, and then you have other people, they're in a rocking chair. If the breeze comes by, that's the level of excitement. In your prep for that interview, do you say, listen, here's where it's coming from. Here might be the failing points of the company in general. Here are the pros and the cons type thing. But here are the key points. And this is going to drive, having a question is a good thing, but having a question that's going to decide on or off for you, because at the same time, you're interviewing them, right? And if it's going to be a bad fit, why dive into that water? Is that something you also provide in that service?
We provide a lot of information about the hiring companies. And this is an area that we're actively working on. Who is this company? What is their culture? What is the experience going to be like working there? We're going to continue to make more information available to our users over time. We talked about networking before. This is a critical reason why you've got to reach out and find people at any company you're looking to talk to or interview at. You've got to find people there to talk to first. You can quickly pick up on the culture if you're talking to people who work there. And by talking with them, get a sense of that culture and how you can react to it. And this is why networking is an important thing. You've got to be able to feel that out. So you have to do your homework. You need to do research. You need to talk to people. So when you get in, you've already got a picture of what the company's in. Though a lot of times people are desperate and therefore are willing to sacrifice to get a job working at a place that is not a great cultural fit. Obviously, the right answer is don't take a job at a place that's not a good fit for you, because you'll pay in the long run. And by talking and doing the research, you can find a place that is a great fit for you. You're in an environment that you fit in. You're going to get along with your coworkers. It's going to be a great experience and you'll be happy at your role. I think the only way to do that is to do your homework and to immerse yourself with people that can give you a sense of what that culture is. You have to feel it at some level. That would be my personal recommendation. We're going to continue to provide opportunities for our users to learn about those companies and network to those companies.
You mentioned hallucinations, and you're a software company, so you left beta. Have you had any spectacular train wrecks that might make our listeners smile?
We've been in beta, so we've had our share of things that broke down. We haven't had anything on the AI side like what you're describing, where we've written something embarrassing or catastrophically wrong. We've been very careful on how we prompt to make certain that we don't go off the rails that way. But like I say, AI it's a tool. Anytime around Thanksgiving, you've watched people make turkeys in those deep fryers. If you make a mistake, something really bad can happen. And the trick is to try and make certain the guardrails are there. Number one, of course, is don't drop a frozen turkey into a deep fryer. And in our case, I think it's making certain that the right information about you starts with your resume. And then the other thing is you got to keep an eye on it. Don't just assume that AI is going to do the right thing for your cover letter or resume. Take a moment and review them. 99% of the time, they're going to be great. Or you may want to reword something in your own way. And then in that very small case where AI put something in that isn't strictly speaking true, you can make those changes to catch that. So far, we've been lucky that we haven't had anything really crazy happen.
One thing you should have started with the quote about the frozen turkey in the deep fryer. I think that's more important.
Listeners out there, this is important. Don't put a frozen turkey into a deep fryer at U.S. Thanksgiving or Canadian Thanksgiving.
Canadian, yeah. Service announcement. That's
Can you tell me what the common mistakes of job searching still are?
I'll preface it by saying that the job search has changed dramatically in the last 5 years. I don't think that job seeking now is in any way the same as it was before the pandemic. We fundamentally entered a new era of job seeking. For most of our lives, job seeking really was a local pursuit. You could not apply for a job that wasn't in your geographic area unless you were willing to move, and that made you generally a special candidate, or you were planning to move anyways and do it on your own terms. I call that geofencing. Working here in Silicon Valley, if you didn't live here, it was very difficult to come here because the housing is so expensive that you'd have to make a lot of money to be able to afford to live here. And so there was a natural barrier to getting a job in Silicon Valley. Therefore, Silicon Valley payrolls are higher. If you were here, you could network and find stuff pretty easy. I think that's all changed. After the pandemic, after Zoom, after remote work and hybrid work, now all jobs are global. You're competing for every job with everybody in the world with the same set of skills as you. And that's a horrifying and scary thing for a job seeker. What we're hearing is the result of that. One result of that is volume. People are applying not to 10 jobs like maybe they were 20 or 30 years ago. They're applying to at minimum 50 jobs for a job seeker at this point. And when we're talking to people, especially if people are, say, 5 or more years of experience, they're applying to hundreds of jobs because those are the high paying roles. It's highly competitive to get considered for those. If you're out there looking for a job, I'm not saying this to make you depressed. That's the reality. You need to build a work process in which you apply to a lot of jobs and network to a lot of jobs. It's a work process. If you don't have a job and you're looking, your new job is to find a job, and that's a full-time job. You're going to need to apply to a lot. The good news is tools like ours make that process much easier and much faster. We don't think there's any shortcuts to this process. It's an experience that the job seekers have to go through. And what we hope to do is to make it that you just wake up, you have all of your job hunt in front of you, you do that work, you go walk your dog, you respond to people that respond to you, hopefully. And when you go about your day, all of the different steps are there in one place for you to manage. We think that's the modern job hunt, which is different than it's used to be. Your resume is going to be evaluated by AI or by keyword searching and these applicant tracking systems. You have to get through that. You cannot expect that you can just submit your base resume anymore. If you forgot to put the keyword in that's in the job post that you'll get through, you won't, because the applicant tracking system is not smart enough to consider the real you and give you the benefit of the doubt. It just says that keyword's not in there, so this person is not going to be on the list. It's not fair exactly, but it's the reality of the modern job hunt. And so the good news is, again, we're leveling the playing field. We're providing AI on your side to help you solve these problems and make you a better candidate and to tell your true story and to get through these hurdles and as a result, be successful. And so ultimately, that's what we tell our users when we talk to them, which is the way for the job hunt. In addition to the AI tools that I mentioned, we have coaching as part of our program.
Thanks for putting me out of work.
And we want to partner with career coaches. We think there's some interesting stuff there. We got to figure out what the right way to do that is. Career coaches are an important part of this because having the tools, you may still need a guide to walk through this experience. In our case, we host monthly webinars with Horst Govin, one of our co-founders and a professional career coach. He walks through the expectations and the experience of a job hunt, how to hold yourself mentally as well as operationally. Covers a lot of territory. And this helps get you into the understanding space about what a job hunt is. And we're talking with other influencers, career coaches, and experts in the space as well to continually make the platform better and to understand how to bring the right experience to the job seeker and to understand what you're going to do. If you're going to climb Mount Everest, you hire Sherpas because they know the space. And I think that's true for the job hunt as well.
One of the biggest fears used to be keeping your resume off your current boss's desk. Is that still an issue? Does it not even matter anymore? Everyone knows you're always polishing. What do you do?
Yeah, so that's a great question. The statistics I've read suggest there's about 12 to 13 million active job seekers in the United States every month. And there's 96% of all the other people who have jobs in the workforce or at least passively looking for their next role. How do you manage that? Obviously, send your resume to your boss by accident. Don't talk about your job search at work. I personally would only convey that I was looking to people that I trusted beyond a shadow of a doubt. We all know corporate politics. If somebody were to find that out, they might whisper that in your boss's ear so that they can get the promotion. We do not currently have a public profile, so you can't see who's on our platform. You be secure on our platform with your search because there's no way to find anybody on our platform. If that changed where we start to convey who's on our platform, we would definitely have a big button that said, "Don't show me." It's an interesting challenge. You have to simultaneously put yourself out there and not put yourself out there. If you're on LinkedIn, do not put open to work if you have a job and don't want to get fired. I would recommend that. Of course, I would recommend you don't put open to work anyways. One of the things that we've discovered in talking with career coaches, job seekers, et cetera, is and I learned this in college the hard way when I was trying to date. If you have a girlfriend, you can get a girlfriend, but if you don't, they wonder if you're worth dating. And that's true for jobs as well. If you're unemployed, unfortunately, there is a shadow on you. You're less likely. I never understood this because somebody who doesn't have a role is ready to start right away and go after it for that new company. Yet they often seem to pursue people that they want to hire away from somebody else. I guess is proof that there's value there. It's not fair, but that's a reality. As a job seeker, I'd recommend that if you're in between roles, I would recommend articulating it in some way that you're doing something. I would not suggest that you're unemployed. Maybe help out a startup, be a consultant, something so that that they don't perceive that you're out of work.
Leave no gaps in the resume. 3 or 5 year gaps usually indicate other things have happened if you weren't having kids. Just said, if you're in a position, you're not fired let me rephrase that even. Not so much fired, but you're not employed because the company could have had to slow down. Something's happened. There's been a shift, whatever. But if you're still actively employed, engaged, you have a career path. And I've seen that in working in the hospital. You'll see nurses, they work different areas of the facility to gain different levels of expertise. And later on, because nobody ever wants to work 24/7 shifts or around the clock or a night shift and evening shifts, typically. They look for other positions where they can advance into the next space. Or if you're in college or university, where you get your bachelor's, you now go get your master's elsewhere. It's a cross-pollination piece. Does your platform allow for that person saying, listen, I'm doing good. I want to enhance myself. I want to increase my cash flow, but at the same time, I also want to challenge myself. So it's not just I'm money grubbing, but I want to grow. Does your platform help that?
We don't have a specific feature for that right now, Bernie, but it's a really fascinating idea. One thing that I will say that's been fascinating for us is Callings.ai has a number of people working for the company who we met while they were looking for roles. And these are people that are doing expert work for us. We're a pre-seed, pre-funded startup. We don't have a lot of cash in the bank, but these people are making a difference for us. That's potentially an example your listeners could follow if they're looking for a role. You're not unemployed. You're helping out the local startup. If you look on the resume and it says XYZ at startup company, there's no measurement of salary or anything else. It's simply what you're doing. And in many ways, it's exciting, right? For the people helping us, hopefully they feel that working at an AI startup is an exciting thing for them personally, but also great for their career as well. Because I think we all know that AI is going to be big. At least that's what I've heard. Getting exposure to it, being involved with it, those are going to be important things on a resume. I think we don't have a service yet, though it's a fascinating idea to help people pair up with startups or organizations. But I do think that's important. And I would recommend it to anybody looking for a job. If they're unemployed, sign up for something. Use your time for something. Among other things, it will remind you of all the skills you have. Because when you're in a job hunt, especially if you've been laid off or left your job, it hits your confidence and you oftentimes forget all the great experiences and skills that you have. So it's helpful to work in the situation we're describing because then you remember and then you'll go in much more confident to the interview.
Call my company, we'll make it happen. But is there something a company can do to make sure they're finding people that fit?
Great question. We're starting the process of talking to people on the other side that we really want to make certain that first and foremost, we're for the job seeker. The needs of hiring companies are different from the job seeker, and almost all the tools that go in that direction end up not supporting the job seeker in a great way. I hope companies recognize it's a critical role that cannot be homogenized too much. I think AI and these other tools can help them do a better job of sorting through the volume of stuff. But I hope companies would still have real human beings putting eyes on opportunities and maybe even taking a look at the pile the AI has rejected every once in a while, just to make certain that they're not missing out on candidates that could make a difference for them. Because I do believe human beings still offer a broader spectrum of wisdom than AI does. AI is very good at processing volume and it's getting very smart, but human beings interact with real human beings every day and we have our entire lives, have been trained better than a large language model on interacting with human beings and therefore have more wisdom in identifying a successful person for their organization than strictly an AI could do on its own.
Garrett, you mentioned geofencing earlier. What is your geography for service? How do they get a hold of you?
So we are focused on providing support for job seekers in the United States right now, though the tool works for everybody. So we have people all over the world using it. We just are trying to make certain that our promise is to people in the US. If we can get that, then we can expand pretty quickly. Anybody can try it. And by the way, I'm sorry, let me rephrase. I'm just remembering that you guys are in Canada. And I think that hiring market the US and Canada are kindred spirits and part of, I think, the North American job market. Certainly for people in Canada, I don't think that they'll see any decline in service on our platform vis-a-vis United States users. We have chosen to focus on the US market just to get it out the door. Generally, white collar workers in high tech are mostly on the platform today, but that's expanding rapidly. So that's our initial audience. We'll be global very soon. In terms of how to get to our platform and use it, Callings.ai is our website address and our service name. And so you can go to Callings.ai. And actually, I encourage you to go to Callings.ai/creative, Kreativ. We will work on some special things for this audience in terms of maybe giving a free month to the users. For the people that come to our platform, you can try it for 14 days for free for all the features. And then for the entirety of your job search, you have access to finding jobs and tracking your job hunt on our platform for free. You pay for the AI tools for creating custom cover letters, networking, et cetera. Those tools is $29.99 a month. And then we offer significant discounts for people who purchase over a longer period of time, like a year. For the average job seeker, I've heard statistically that a job hunt is about 5 to 6 months. I think that includes blue collar workers and specialist workers, because when we're looking at people who are white collar workers, especially if you have more than 5 years of experience, that job hunt on average will probably last anywhere between 6 months and a year. That's just the reality of the market. It will help to understand that, so that after 2 weeks you don't become deeply depressed that you don't already have a new job. It's just the reality of the modern job hunt. And so we offer significant, I think 40% discounts if you sign up for a year on our platform. And as we add new features, you'll get those as part of the subscription. And that is our goal. So my partner and I truly believe in iteration and constant improvement. There will never be a time where we feel like the platform is done. We're going to continually work on it and make it better. Philippe has some amazing ideas coming, which we think are going to potentially make a big difference and a big change in the job market.
I want to say thank you to Garrett Rice, my co-host Wayne Pratt, and you, the Knack for Business listeners. If you're in the job hunting spectrum of the space, Callings.ai/creative, because you're listening to the podcast.
Creative.
Those are really handy tools. It refines your message and helps you find a match for a business that you're looking at being a part of. Also, you have the extra special tip: keep yourself busy. Show up somewhere else in the system, because that way you have no gaps in your resume.
To reach the podcast hosts, email them at info@creativeinsight.com or by the website creativeinsight.com, spelled KREATIVINSIGHT.com. To reach Wayne at his email, wayneemotive8u.ca, that is MOTIVE, the numeral 8, and the letter u.ca, or his website, motive8u.ca. If you would like to be a guest on this podcast and share your knowledge, let us know. We would also appreciate your feedback on the content or format. Check the show notes for more details. For these podcasts, we like to acknowledge the support and thanks to the following people: Carl Richards from Podcast Solutions Made Simple, a renowned podcast expert; Fred Crouch, who is the Property Wizard podcaster, where Bernie is a co-host; Jovan Strika from A Hive, a co-working space that is more than just a space; then Melanie Weber, Bernie's invaluable business partner; and Wayne Pratt from Motive 8U Inc., who serves as both a coach and co-host of these podcasts. Disclaimer: please note that the Knack for Business podcast episodes are meant solely for educational and general informational purposes. The information and opinions contained within are not intended to be professional advice on any subject matter. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by the participants are their own personal beliefs and do not represent the views of the podcast hosts or any affiliated organizations. It is important to note that this podcast is not a replacement for consulting with certified experts in your area who possess knowledge of your unique situation. The hosts of the podcast, along with any participants or affiliated groups, do not take responsibility for any actions taken or not taken based on the information presented in this episode. It is highly recommended that individuals seek guidance from their own personal advisors in fields such as accounting, law, or other pertinent areas prior to undertaking any actions or making decisions that may impact their financial, legal, or other aspects of life.